Hey guys, what's up? My name is Courtney and this is Crime and Tumblers. Welcome back to my channel. Today's story is going to be like kind of Valentine's themed, even though Valentine's Day is still like 3 weeks away or 2.5 weeks or something like that. This is the case of John and Susan Hamilton. John and Susan were married for 14 years, and from all of the sources that police and investigators spoke with, everybody said their marriage was like a fairy tale. Like, John absolutely adored Susan, and he was also, he was a doctor, so he was very, very, very rich. Excuse me, didn't mean to get that close to you. Had to grab something. So, John was like super duper rich, right? He was a doctor. And like everybody loved the couple. They were very, very sweet. On their wedding day, which they got married pretty quick. They were together for 2 years and then they got married. So on their wedding day, John actually bought Susan a Porsche. Like, happy wedding day, here's a friggin' Porsche. So, of course, like I said, they were rich, so they had like this huge house. It was like a mansion. They had nice cars, all of that rich people stuff. Stuff us common folk don't know about. So even though John and Susan were like a very liked couple, they also had some people that did not like them very well, because not only was John an OBGYN, John also did abortions at an abortion clinic, and his wife Susan was a manager of that clinic. I'm pointing you guys down here because I'm about to do a Tacket tumbler, and I'm like obsessed with these, and I love the way it makes things look, so I wanted you to see it too. So Valentine's Day 2001, John was coming home between his surgeries, and he was going to exchange some Valentine's Day cards with Susan. Well, when he gets home, he finds Susan dead in the bathroom floor in a pool of blood. So of course he freaks out. He's calling 911, and according to the calls, I guess he's like genuinely like freaking out. He keeps saying, like, please send somebody, help me, like my wife is dead, I think my wife's dead. Jeez. There we go. So it is a pretty gory scene. I'm just going to let you guys know. And there's some gory details. So, buckle up. John tells 911 operators that he is going to perform CPR. And then when EMS gets there, and police and everything, they see that it's a nasty scene. So, Susan was actually strangled with 2 of her husband's ties, like the suit ties, necktie things, and she was strangled with 2 of them, and she was beaten so badly her face was completely unrecognizable, and parts of her brain were actually exposed. Investigators had every reason to believe that it was the abortion, like the anti-abortion groups, because 1 week before this happened, John actually had a letter faxed to his office from a member of the anti-abortion group, and it was like a wanted poster, and it had his head on it, or his face, and it said dead or alive, like wanted dead or alive, and it had John's face on it. And then only 2 days before this happened, the anti-abortion group, or a group of people from the group, if that makes sense. Anyway, they tried to set the abortion clinic on fire. So police were obviously like, okay, this was probably the anti-abortion group that did this. As a part of like domestic cases, the spouse is always looked at. So John was taken into questioning as a suspect. John had a pretty good alibi because, he's a freaking doctor and he works at 2 different clinics, so he's a busy man, right? John had a surgery that morning at 7 o'clock, and he performed the surgery, and then he left the clinic at 8 o'clock. Then John had another surgery at 9:30 a.m. So he didn't have like much of a window really to do anything like that. And while he was at home, his pager went off to tell him to get to that surgery. So like he was on a pretty strict schedule. So he went and performed both of his surgeries, and according to his co-workers, everybody said that he was acting completely fine, like nothing was off, nothing seemed wrong. And then by 10:45 he was home, and that's where he found Susan. So the police didn't think it was him, right? Like they were really thinking it was the anti-abortion group. And then when police are looking around the home doing some more like investigating, they find the Valentine's Day card from Susan. And like, remember, everybody said their marriage was like amazing and stuff. Well, it was kind of like suspicious because the Valentine's Day card, Susan had written inside of it and said, I bought my card 2 weeks ago, so I guess it's not appropriate now, but I still love you and have a good day. So that made it seem like maybe there was something going on in the marriage that other people didn't know about, and it really wasn't that great. Susan had confided in a friend. See how cool that looks though? I love tacket tumblers. Anyway, Susan had confided in her friend, which was also her neighbor, that she thought John was cheating. She found like a ton of phone calls and text messages between John and a stripper. I don't know how she found the messages. I don't know if she just like felt like something was going on and grabbed his phone and found it or whatever, but she found it. And she was talking to her friend about wanting a divorce. So when she confronted John about it, he said that this stripper was a patient of his, and she was like suicidal. She was very depressed, had a lot going on, and she was suicidal, so he was just trying to like help her out. And he denied that there was any sort of affair going on whatsoever, and the stripper also denied anything going on other than just like talking to each other. So an EMS worker that was on scene told investigators that when he got there on scene, John was doing CPR wrong. And that's, you know, crazy because John's a doctor. Like, he should know 100% how to do CPR. And so that kind of made investigators kind of look at him more, because like I said, like, you're a doctor, you should know how to do CPR, right? So they take all of John's clothes in for evidence because his clothes had some blood on it. Like I said, it was a very bloody scene. So John gets arrested, right? And the people in the courtroom, like, they're having a really hard time because there's no motive. There's absolutely no motive for John to be the one to do this. Investigators talked to like neighbors and friends and co-workers and everything, and everybody said that John was just like a super happy, nice person. He didn't have another like criminal record. Like, he had no history of any crimes or like anything. There was nothing. So like in the courtroom, it's looking really good for John because they like can't prove that he's the one that did this. They can't even find a murder weapon. Like, there was no murder weapon at the scene. So December 2001, John is tried for murder. And this is what the prosecutors came up with. Like, you know how prosecutors always like come up with a story about what they think happened, right? So this is what prosecutors said. They said that on Valentine's Day, John, you know, he went to his surgery and he got home and he got that card from his wife, and it like pissed him off really bad, and like he knew that she was wanting a divorce, and it just like sent him through the roof. He was trying to make things better with Susan. Susan wasn't having it, and she asked for divorce, and that triggered him. And that's when John took 2 of his neckties, strangled Susan, and then beat her in the head and face with a blunt object of some sort. And this is all just what prosecutors are saying. This is not like facts. And they also mentioned they have found a wet rag at the scene that was left in the pool of blood that Susan was, you know, laying in. and it looked like that somebody was like trying to clean it up and then just like abruptly stopped. So prosecutors were using that as like, well, like John was trying to clean up the mess and then he got paged for surgery, so he just stopped and left, which kind of makes sense. So they hire a blood splatter expert, and it's fascinating to me that you can look at something that's got blood splatters on it and be like, that's what happened. Like, that's amazing to me. So anyway, they hire this blood splatter expert, and he says that the blood that was on John's shirt was consistent with him giving CPR, because like I said, Susan was just like this bloody, nasty mess, and he was giving her CPR, and even though he was doing it wrong, but he was giving her CPR, and the blood splattered on his shirt. So that sounds good for John. But then the blood splatter expert says that his shoes kind of looked suspicious to him. So according to the blood splatter expert, it looked like the shoes were in motion as blood splattered on them. So like, it looked like maybe John was just like beating Susan with something, and, you know, his feet were moving and the blood splattered on his shoes. There was also blood found in John's car, which John said was because after he was like doing CPR, he got off the phone with 911, and he realized his car was in the way in the driveway. So he stops doing CPR and goes outside to move his car. So that's why there was blood in the car. So, you know, the house was a bloody mess, unfortunately, and there was like bloody footprints around the house, but there was no bloody footprints leading to the door, and there was no bloody footprints outside going to John's car. So now John's team hires the best of the best, this super high-end professional blood splatter expert, right? And that blood splatter expert says, yeah, you know, the blood on John's shirt was from him doing CPR. So like, cool, awesome, good. And then the prosecutor asks if that blood splatter expert, the second one, the one that's supposed to be like the best of the best, the prosecutor asked him if there was anything that he found that the first blood splatter expert missed. And he says yes. There was blood found up John's shirt sleeve. And nobody had talked about this before. It was just like either purposely left out for whatever reason, or I don't know, but this blood splatter expert found it. He brings it up. So yeah, there was blood up John's shirt sleeve, so that means he was beating Susan with whatever object he used, and the blood was splattered up his shirt sleeve. So John's team is like, well, you know, this could have been from him doing the CPR, but, you know, everybody in the courtroom and the judge was like, nope. So this guy pretty much proved, just from blood being up John's shirt sleeve, he proved that John was guilty, and then John was sentenced to life in prison without the possibility of parole. And that is my story for you guys this week. What do you guys think? Do you think he did it? Do you think it was an intruder? Do you think anything like that? I want to know your thoughts of what you think about this story. From all of the research that I've looked at, I think he did it, but you know, that's just me. So tell me what you guys think, and I will see you next week. Bye!